host. Today we're with Sara Holbrook and Michael Salinger, right?
Yes.
So, tell us a bit about yourselves.
Well, we come from Cleveland, Ohio. We are writers, poets, and educators. So we wear many hats.
And we've been visiting different international schools now probably for about 15 years. We've been to 60 to 70 different international schools in 50 different countries. And we've both been writers for a long time, but we come to writing and education from the real world. I was an engineer for 23 years, and Sara worked in public relations for
about 12 years,
12 years
before I came into visiting schools.
Mm-hmm. So, like, could you tell us a bit, wait, no, I already said that. Give me 1 second. So what gave you the inspiration to write poems and stuff? Like, what motivated you to, because you guys were you were an engineer and you were in public relations. So was it that you didn't really like your job and you wanted to pursue writing more?
Well, I think a lot of people have hobbies, right? Some people will be working in the business world, but their hobby is playing the violin, or that they like to sing or play in a jazz band. So my hobby was writing poetry, and I wrote for my children. And then my books started to sell, and first I scaled back to half-time on my day job and started visiting schools, and then I quit my day job finally in 1993. So I have been an artist since then.
And I've always been a writer for as long as I can remember, from when I was a kid. And I did things like I had performance art troupes during the 80s. I played in some punk bands back in the 90s. And I was working, but I had a side avocation, being a writer, being a performer. And I came to the schoolwork. Sara kind of started with kids' poetry and evolved into writing for adults. I was writing for adults and evolved into writing for kids, which are both are hard.
Right.
You know, I said earlier, one of my favorite quotes is from Jane Yolen, and she's written 400 books for kids, and she'll be asked, do you think you'll ever graduate and start writing for adults? And she says, do you ask a pediatrician? Are you going to graduate and start working on adults? It takes just as much talent to write for young people as it does for adults.
Yeah. So you guys, what's your favorite thing that you've ever written? You know.
Well, that's hard to say. What I like, here's what I like about my job, is I like that I can skip around, and so sometimes we are writing for little guys, you know, play your tummy, play your lips, and then other times we're writing things that are social statements, really, and for adults. And I had a lot of fun working on this novel, The Enemy, and I'm working on another novel right now. I'm also working on a collection of girlfriend poems with another poet.
And what's fun about our job is we do all these different types of writing. One day we might be writing for third graders, and the next day we're putting together a book of writing strategies for teachers to use. So it's the variety in it. And I think the one thing that we can do is to try to be precise and be careful with our language no matter what we're writing. Even if it's an email, we present ourselves as authors, so we should be trying to present good writing. I think the most favorite thing that we've ever written for me would be the last thing that I wrote. Whatever the last thing is I wrote is my favorite, because otherwise I shouldn't have written it.
So, what was I gonna say? You guys, you've traveled to many countries and many schools. Was there ever like a life-changing experience you've experienced or encountered when you went to different schools?
Yeah, I think it's an evolving experience, because once you move away from your, or venture outside of your home country, you start to learn about people, right? And how much more we have in common than we have differences. And so we get struck by that all the time.
Being kidnapped in Lagos, Nigeria was exciting.
How did you guys?
No, they
No,
they do
it
soft kidnappings. They pick you up and they take you to an ATM to pay them off. But we didn't actually have to suffer through that. But
No.
we misconnected and we were lost on the streets for a little bit, and we didn't know where we were going. We had people driving us around. We didn't speak the language. We didn't have what you learn is you always want contact. We had given back at the time. Everyone didn't have a cell phone, so we had the we had the school cell phone. We had already turned that back in, so we were just kind of lost in Lego. So that was exciting.
Well, we have a phrase whenever something happens like that. Like we were in Sudan at 2 o'clock in the morning, and our reservations had been canceled. So we're standing in the airport thinking, "Oh no," and but we tell each other, "Well, we've been in verse situations." So that's the life of the traveling poet.
So I was kind of confused. How did you guys meet or get together?
Yeah, at a poetry reading. This is both of ours. We've been married before, and we were single, and we were at a bar called the Barking Spider in Cleveland,
Sarah
Ohio.
threw herself at me.
No.
She just threw herself. It was embarrassing. I gotta say, it was.
We were competing to be on the Poetry Slam team to represent our city in the international tournament. So
Yeah.
that's how we met.
So that was
in 98.
1998 we met.
Yeah.
So long.
Were you born then?
So
No.
long.
I know.
It's amazing that we can sit upright. It is without support. It is.
I know. But I told the 7th grader I was working with who was defining the word prehistoric, but I am not prehistoric.
Exactly.
So, isn't it kind of weird working with your partner, or is it more fun?
Yeah. I think we get this question all the time. I think it's good for any couple to have common goals, right?
Yeah.
And so we have perhaps more common goals than the average couple, but it's part of what I don't know.
We
ties
spend
us
more.
together.
Yeah, I don't know. We spend a lot of time together.
We do.
We haven't. There's been no injuries. We've done pretty well, and what we learned is we've divided the jobs because
Yeah.
this is a job. We are independent business people. We're entrepreneurs. We do all our own bookings. We do our own. We do our own writing. We do our own contracts. We do all that kind of stuff. So when we write a professional book together, we divide the tasks so that at any given time we only need one brain functioning. So that helps because we got 2 to choose from. So I'll do more of the things like the contracts and things that are like linear that go back toward engineering, and Sarah's the more creative of the two of us. She looks at things and wonders what they could be, and I look at things and I wonder how they work. I want to take them apart.
But what if you guys ever fight? Wouldn't that affect? Imagine you're going to a school and then talking to everyone, but then you guys, right before that, you fought. Wouldn't that affect some?
You know what I think?
I am really understanding.
What I always think is, well, you know what? We're going to make up eventually, so it might as well be now.
Yeah.
So I try to put it behind us.
Do you guys have any role models and that kind of motivated you to go through this direction, or was there anything like that? For example, when you were a kid, was there anything that sparked your interest in?
You know, I really feel like I came in the back door because I studied in university. I studied journalism, which I think helped my writing more than had I studied fine arts, by the way. And I was working in PR. Part of my job was I bought printing, right, and for this huge mega law firm. And I had some books that I couldn't convince anyone to buy. So I printed to publish, and so I printed 3 little books and 300 copies of each book. And I went out, I visited a couple schools, and kids bought the books, and I thought, great scam, right? So I printed some more books, and those sold. And so I ended up selling 43,000 books, and then the publishers decided to talk to me. So I kind of came in the back door, and I had established myself then as a children's author before Michael and I met. So.
And I had no idea that this job existed. 20
Right.
years ago, I didn't know that you could be an education consultant. I didn't know that these kind of things could be done. And after meeting Sarah, I started getting into this. But there was no role model. I didn't know that it existed. There was no, we kind of make this stuff up as we go along. There's other people that who are strictly educational consultants and come in and they'll work on a curriculum. There's people who are strictly a picture book author and they'll come in and they'll talk to you about their picture book. What Sara and I do different is we have books like this, but we also understand the pedagogy, we understand education, and there's not a whole lot of us around. There's a couple people around that are doing it like us, so we kind of made this job up. And it's really fun, it's cool, and it's like I feel like I keep waiting to get caught. You know, and it's just like you can't do that anymore, you know, you're having too much fun, and but it hasn't happened yet. So far so good. So and for role models, we've met a lot of really cool people all around the world that
have mentored us in our writing and dealing with publishers and that sort of thing.
And inspires, but the smartest man I know is Chris Crutcher. Is the smartest man. So I look to him for a lot of moral guidance.
Right. It's a different kind of job because it's not like you go to a job and your colleagues are there. Our colleagues are spread out all over the world. So I'm not sure we could do what we do without social media, email.
Oh, it's crazy. And 20 years ago, you couldn't have done this. You couldn't have done this. It's because when we were putting this trip together, and we only had Abu Dhabi and Dubai booked, and I remembered that, there's a friend of ours in Bahrain. I'll shoot him an email. I say, Peter, we're in the neighborhoods. Yeah, come work for us for a week. And so that's how you build. It's really a relationship thing. It's really getting to know people.
Understanding the international schools.
Yeah, we've worked for the same principal in China. Then he moved to Cairo. We worked for him in Cairo. Then he moved to Borneo. We worked for him in Borneo. And then he moved to Kazakhstan. And we worked for him in Kazakhstan. So it's all about relationships. And that's what life's about, is relationships.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you for joining us in our school UAS. And thank you guys for watching.
See you.
Thank you.